Okay, we've got some people joining, which is really good. George, how many families in Truganini?
There's 150 students, or thereabouts.
Yeah. Just on 6 o'clock now, but we'll wait a few more minutes, George.
Absolutely.
There's a chat. George, if you want to have a look.
I'm not able to see while I'm screen sharing, so if I can get one of you to maybe keep an eye on.
It's Shirley. Hi, George. I've been connected as an attendee.
That probably is not something we can change at this point, I think.
All right, we've just kicked over past 6 o'clock. George, you tell me when.
Yep, good to go,
Yeah.
Vince.
Good to go? Okay. Good evening, everyone out there, Truganini families. My name is Vince Hinutzi. I'm the Director of Faith and Mission. I'm also representing the leadership team, and in particular, on behalf of Brendan Watson, our principal, he wishes you all very well, and he's very, very saddened that we can't all be at the college, meeting one another as we would under normal situations, under normal circumstances. But the college is thinking of the families, especially as we've just entered our third wave of lockdown, and hopefully it's a very short wave, and we can be back at school. I'd like to welcome the staff with us this evening, George, who's the Truganini coordinator, Ilasani, Susanna, Edwin Lim, Rebecca, I'm just scrolling down if I've missed anyone, Sophie, Salibi, Ishanka, Gerald, Piccioni. I think that's all of the Truganini staff. And Edwin, I forgot you as well. So I'd like to welcome you, and I'd like to welcome all the families here this evening. And as we do normally, which is common practice at CRC Sydenham, we'll begin proceedings with acknowledgement of land. So George, I invite you to do that.
Okay, hello everyone. We respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land on which we gather, the Wurundjeri people. It is a privilege for us to be here, and we give thanks for their past and continued care of this land.
And so together we will pray. So in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Amen. This is a Truganini cluster prayer. And so, God of justice and peace, through your Son, Jesus Christ, you reveal to us a model of leadership through selfless service. Help us to be Christian leaders. May we become people of justice, treating all people, no matter what their background, as sisters and brothers, made in your image and likeness, equal in your sight. We make this prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So, as we began, there are a couple of messages in the chat. Yep, that's correct. Questions can be asked and answered via the Q&A screen. All right, George, over to you.
Begin off just by providing a little bit of information about Truganini, after whom our cluster is named. Here, who is one of, I think, what a lot of people name as the last Aboriginal people, but that's not quite correct, but one of the last and the most well-known Tasmanian Aboriginal, who worked to bring the conflict that existed between Indigenous Australians and European colonisers to bring, that is actually there's a typo there, worked to bring resolution to it. She attempted to bring a voice to the marginalised Aboriginals and protect them from the hostility of non-Indigenous settlement. And just introducing you to the structure of our cluster. So as Vince has mentioned, my name's George Arthur. I'm the coordinator for the cluster, dealing mainly with wellbeing, community learning and engagement issues. Edwin is our cluster associate who supports me very much in that role. And then we have as well a number of home group teachers that we'll introduce you to in a moment, and who will each speak to you throughout this presentation. So my role is focused around, as it says there, complex issues to do with learning, also social and emotional issues, working through personal challenges, which might be physical, social, emotional, academic, personal, or to do with family health. It's quite a wide-ranging job. Also looking at absences, uniform subject changes and disputes, and a lot of the time, if need be, I may also refer on to other people. We have so many helpful and supportive people at the college who make up a part of the larger team, and so at times I might be putting students in touch with those people if necessary. The home group teacher role is focused on delivering our pastoral program, and Edwin will be telling you a little bit more about that in a moment. And a home group teacher for you at home should be your first point of contact if you have any questions or concerns. So these are our home group teachers. And in just a moment, I'll hand over to Edwin, who will take us through some of what happens in the home group sessions.
Hello, everyone. So the things that we do in home group essentially is we've got 20 minutes at the start of each day where we start off with a prayer, and most of the times we'll help to support the students in terms of their attendance issues and their issues with the lessons and the teachers. And also there's a designated program, essentially our pastoral care program, where we cover and we discuss and analyze current issues with regards to students' growth and the various perspective that's around the world. And we also try to build that community in home group as well, where students are encouraged to share their views and perspectives, and also their strengths, and offer some of their strengths and their abilities in terms of writing up certain articles, as well as sharing their experience with regards to the topics that we cover. And sometimes we also do games to engage the students, and we currently, I hope, and hopefully after the lockdown we should be able to get this Friday event going on, where students get to participate in basketball activities and trivias and all that, just to get them engaged in the pastoral care program. George, next please. Thank you. With regards to attendance, if your child is going to be absent for the day, it'll be good if you can give the college a call. So the number is up there, 93610046. Try and call before 9 a.m. because that's when the college administrators will update sector, and it will show up as the student having a parent contact. Because if your child is absent for that period, a message will be sent to your phone or your email to essentially get you aware of that. So absences from class are generally unapproved, with the exception of sports events, excursions. These will be approved by the school. If your child is unwell, I think the best thing is that they rest at home and see a doctor to get a medical certificate for the day. And I think George would prefer to have that medical certificate in as soon as possible, because that way we can make sure that the attendance, the absence is updated, so that nothing is missed out on, which I'll cover on later, which is pretty important. There's certain exceptional circumstances with regards to personal issues. This should be communicated with George as well, just to make him aware of what's going on, and he will be able to have a chat with the school management leadership to arrange that absence as an approved one. Statutory declaration will be accepted only on the day following the absence. So if your child is absent today, on the next day, as soon as possible, we would require a statutory declaration. So there's a lot of rules regarding attendance. We just want to make sure that your child has the best support, and when they're learning in class, they don't miss the lessons, especially if they're taking a 3-4 subject, because I think when you start missing 1 or 2 lessons, it gets a little bit hard to catch up. And by updating the attendance, we can inform the subject teachers that, look, your child is absent, this student is absent. The subject teachers can step in to support and provide support for your child. Next, please, George. Thank you. So as mentioned previously about the medical certificate and the statutory declaration, there's one thing that I haven't covered, which is just special circumstances that prevent attendance. I think the best thing is the students should, or students or parents should drop a message to George through direct message or email, just to inform him that this event has happened, this unfortunate event has happened, or this emergency event has happened, and he will take note of that and update it accordingly. Next, please. So as I mentioned previously, the unapproved absences is quite a serious thing, because if a student misses 4 classes within a semester, which is from February up till July, if they miss 4 lessons that is unapproved without a medical certificate, statutory declaration, or communication with the school, the student receive an N, which means it's not satisfactory for the unit. So that basically means that the student has failed the subject and would have to essentially repeat it next year or the next semester. Apart from that 4 classes, that 70% overall attendance must be maintained. So this again is to ensure that the student or your child, they don't miss out on important lessons, and especially for 3-4 subjects, it's hard to catch up, because being a 3-4 teacher myself, I teach accounting and economics. Sometimes when students miss just 1 lesson, it's really hard for them to catch up, and arrangements should be made with the subject teachers to help to support them with their learning. Whenever there are 2 or more absences, an end letter will be emailed to the parents, to you, just to inform you of the situation, because we don't want to wait till there's 4 absences before we inform you. By then it's kind of too late. So by the second unapproved absence, we would make contact with you just to remind you about this. Next, George. Okay.
Just handing over to Susie now, who's going to take us through this one.
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to go through the medical information and action plans. So these are really important for many reasons. So we do go on excursions, camps, but also at school. So if your child does have a serious health concern, so it could be anything, but anaphylaxis or asthma are just some examples, you are required to provide the college with an action plan. So I think this should be advised by your doctor, and if any other medicines are required, that also needs to go through the front office. So students will not be allowed back at school until one has been provided. And this is, to ensure their safety and to ensure that we as staff know what to do if something happens. So they are filed at the front office, which makes them really accessible to all the staff members. These also get taken along to excursions. So they do need to be filled in by your doctor, and yeah, they are stored at the front office. So they're very important.
Thanks, Susie. I'm just going to hand over to Sophie now, who's going to chat with us about uniform.
Hi, everyone. At CRC Sydenham, it's really important for us that students have the correct uniform. It's there to be able to promote and express a sense of self-worth and to make sure there's a sense of equity amongst all of our students. We have 2 uniforms. We have the summer uniform, we have the winter uniform. Summer uniform is to be worn terms 1 and 4, and the winter uniform is to be worn terms 2 and 3. In addition, we do also have a PE uniform, but this shouldn't be worn unless there's a special reason to do so. So that might be if a student has a PE class, a specific vet class, or any other special college events. But in all cases, that's going to be specifically indicated by the teacher that they will be required to wear that. So a student, even though they might have a PE class, it doesn't necessarily mean that they should be in PE uniform, because they could be doing theory that lesson. So it's important that the students check in with the teacher and follow the teacher's advice as to where they wear it. It's really important that any non-regulation items, so such as scarves or pants, hoodies, any leggings, Kathmandu jackets, anything that is not of the uniform, college uniform, is not to be worn. Just the next slide, George. Thank you. So if a student is unable to wear the correct uniform for whatever reason it may be, the student must come to the college with a note from the parent, and they must come and see George before 9 a.m. to receive that uniform pass. So in home group every day, we'll be checking that the students are in the correct uniform, and we'll be checking for this pass as well. If the cluster coordinator isn't available for any reason, please do head over to student services. If the student doesn't have a uniform pass, but they are able to correct the uniform that they have on the spot. So if they have a scarf and they could take it off, they'll be issued with a lunchtime detention. But if they're completely out of uniform, such as they're in the PE uniform and they should be in full school uniform, they will be sent home to change, and they will receive unapproved minutes for their classes. We do ask for your support in this initiative. So we ask that you please check that your child is in the correct uniform, and if they're not able to be, if you could please write a note for them. Please do be aware that if students are out of uniform, they will receive a lunchtime detention or be sent home. Of course, with permission, we will be in contact with you before we do send your child home. Just in addition, if you are unable, or if your child is missing any part of the uniform and you're not able to, and you don't have that item, they can go and visit student services and speak over there to David, who will be able to arrange some assistance with you to be able to get the correct uniform. Thank you.
Thanks, Sophie. And back to Susie, who's going to chat to us about mobile phones.
Okay, so I will talk about mobile phones. It is nothing new. We all know that they've been banned from schools, but it is very important, and I must emphasise the importance of this, that they are not to be used while at the college. So this means even if they're not in class time, they must be locked away during home group. So from the morning when they arrive for the rest of the day. So nothing on school grounds. And if they are seen, so there are consequences. If they are seen, they will be confiscated. So the teacher will speak to the student and will ask to take the phone, as they're not able to be used at all. And further to that, students will be able to collect their mobile phones from the front office at the end of the day. So there will be parent contact and possibly a parent meeting, especially if it is something that is continuous and they are trying to use them in class. It is a distraction for all students. They are in VCE, and I think it's a very important time that they need to really focus during class time, even recess and lunchtime, just to have their break with their friends, rather than, you know, trying to go and check messages or anything like that. So.
Thanks, Susie. Now, Rebecca is going to talk us through sector and some of the particularly important things around keeping in touch with us here at school.
George. Hi everyone, my name's Rebecca and I have several slides to go over with you today. It's probably the biggest chunk. As George said, this is sort of our primary way of communicating with you as the parents and also students. So it's really important that we kind of cover all of this. So thanks, George. All right, so sector, many of you may have used this before at your students' feeder campuses, and sector is our online learning management platform. So this is where teachers will structure lessons with learning intentions, teaching and learning activities, lesson reviews and homework. It's generally where teachers will point students when it comes to accessing particular resources or submitting tasks. It's also where teachers record their attendance, track student homework and submission of tasks, and learning outcome achievement. There is also an element of sector where teachers can input potential behavioural issues that need to be noted and communicated to the relevant people in the school. So there's sort of three different portals, I suppose, for sector. There's the sector teach, which the teachers see. There's sector learn for the students, and there's sector engage for parents, which I'll get to in a second. I think I've covered all of that. Yeah. So sector engage, which I've just mentioned, this enables you as the parent to really see what's going on in your student's school life. So you're able to see your child's attendance for yourself. You're able to keep track of their academic performance, keep track of whether they're doing their homework, and you will also be communicated various school notices and school events through sector and the direct message function that it does have. We also send out information with regards to parent, student, teacher interviews, which can be booked online through this particular platform as well. When it comes to viewing student academic performances, you will see a variety of tasks that your students' teachers have logged onto the system. This includes what we call formative tasks, which are assessment tasks that are done in the process of learning. So you can see how your student is doing along the way, and also summative assessments, which is your major school assessed coursework, where your student will get their scores. So you'll see a minimum of 2 formative tasks per term and a summative assessment task at the end of each main area of study. Because it is so useful for keeping you up to date with what your student is learning and achieving, we do recommend that you check Sector Engage at least once a week to sort of get a sense of how your student is going. So to that end, I believe you should have received an email about last week asking you to set up a Sector Engage account if you hadn't already done so. That should prompt you to sort of follow these steps on this slide here, which involves downloading an app, registering it with the correct school details, inputting your username and password, as I think the email would have explained to you. Alternatively, you can use Sector Engage in your browser. I believe here is a little bit of an overview in video format, so hopefully this works.
Overview of the types of things you can find on your Engage page. When you log in on the welcome page here, if you scroll down, you'll find a range of links to different documents and items that the school would like you to have access to. Under assessments here, you can find upcoming assessment tasks that your student will be required to submit for each of their classes. You can also get information about their results and feedback that staff have given once they've been submitted. Under the Courses tab, you can find the subject and specific information about what's happening in each class each day. All right, next is the dashboard, where you can find a fair bit of information here. Homework that's set by the teachers will list here. The timetable of your child will come up here that you can have a look at. The other really important thing about the dashboard is these pastoral care notes. So you might receive an email or a text message to say that there's been a notification from a staff member. This can be academic, behavioural, to do with attendance or even commendations. If you come in here, you can click on the information that the staff member has written, and it will give you a detailed description of the notification that has been sent. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact the staff member. Direct messages. So the school will send important information to you via direct message. For instance, in here we've got some information about family partnership evenings and important early starts for students. There's also a little icon at the top here which notifies you when there's new messages that have come through. You might also use direct message to correspond with staff members by simply finding their name along here, typing your message and pressing send, and they can reply to you as well. The last one is notices. So this just has daily messages that staff and the school puts up for the students. Anything from awards assembly information to extracurricular activities or fundraising activities that we might be having. Again, if you have any further queries, please head to the Sector Engage guide here that hopefully will have some more information about how you can find different items.
Great. So hopefully that worked and gave you a bit of an overview of the functionality of Sector if you haven't experienced it before. This is just a slide. So if you did not receive that Welcome to Sector Engage email that I mentioned a couple of slides previously, get your, I suppose, through your student to get your home group teacher or the tutor to check that the information the school has on Sector is the correct email address for you, because that's the email address that the email would have gone to. So if the email address is correct, and you're still having issues, if you could send an email to icthelp@crcs.vic.edu.au and ask them to resend you their email just to see that, I don't know, perhaps got missed along the way or something. If the email address is not correct, you will need to complete a change of details form so that the school can officially update your sector profile and just your contact details. So those can be collected in hard copy from the front office, obviously when we are on site, hopefully in a few days, fingers crossed. Or a link to an electronic copy can be mailed to you by cluster coordinator. And then once the information is updated, then again, you could contact IT help via that email and they can resend the welcome email again. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Rebecca. It's quite a lot of information there about Sector, but as Rebecca said, it is really important. It's our primary way of keeping in touch and communicating with you. And we all know that technology can be frustrating sometimes and things cannot work out quite as planned. So if you have had any issues or if you're not able to get in there, please do get in touch with us. So we're going to move along now to look at assessment, starting with the video, and then Elisana is going to speak to us about that.
The long wait is finally over for tens of thousands of ECE students who have received their marks and university entry scores. Among these success stories, an unlikely one from the western suburbs who's beaten all the odds. James Talia explains.
2.5 years ago, Sal Al-Qassab, his parents and 3 siblings fled the war in Syria. Saad couldn't speak English when he arrived, but learned quickly. Off the back of a labouring job at Sydenham's Catholic Regional College last summer, he was given a Year 12 scholarship. Today, he learned his score, 96.65.
Now I'm the doctor of the school, which makes me so, proud and appreciative of the opportunity CRC, has given me.
Saad has already received an offer to study medicine at Monash.
At VCE, we are assessed in different ways. These can include essay writing, product design. Performances, experiments,
Hi everyone, Eliza here, and I will be talking about assessment. So students at CRC complete a number of different assessments through either formative or summative tasks, and the main purpose of these assessments is to demonstrate a satisfactory completion, showing that they understand certain learning outcomes, and to demonstrate a level of achievement through either a score or a rank. With students completing a scored VCE program, in addition to the assessment tasks, they also complete exams at the end of the semester, which is held at the college. Thank you, George. In terms of Year 12 students, or those taking Unit 3 and 4 subjects, they also complete exams, one in June, which is the GET, the trial exams in Term 3 break, and then the external VCAR exams in November. Within VET, students are required to provide evidence that demonstrates competency in each unit that they take, and some of these VET courses, they also contribute to a study score.
Thank you, Lasane. Another video here about homework, and then we're going to hear from Gerald.
I can't believe I left it until now to study for this test tomorrow. I'm so stressed. No. No. It's important for your child to have a good place to study, away from phones and iPads and computers. While study doesn't dominate my personal life, I still have time to be social. The key to success at VCE is balance.
Hi guys, so I'm Gerald and I'm just going to have a chat with you about the study and homework. And as we've just seen, VCE can be a pretty stressful time with a pretty high set workload. So it's important to set up some of the, some of the practices that are going to be able to help, your kids and students be able to, succeed, and homework's a really important part of that. So we actually say that it's an expectation that the student should be doing around 2 to 4 hours of homework per night. And it does sound like a lot, but it does include a few different things. This can include summaries of the work that they've completed, any notes that they may need to do, set specific homework that the teacher might have set, as well as any unfinished classwork that they may not have had the opportunity to actually do in class. George, thanks. Cool. So a really good way to get around this is through time management. So what it's really good, something we should do is they need to be able to manage both their social lives along with their work life at school as well. So they need to be balancing the things like, their if they've got any extracurricular activities, they may have a part-time job. They may have any family and or friend social commitments that they might need to make. So it's important they're able to then balance the work that they're doing along with the work that the things that they're doing outside of school as well. And a way that we can do that is with the use of a study plan. So actually having a set routine and a set plan for how they're actually going to do that. Something that a few of the year 12s especially will be doing, and the year 11s will start having to get used to, is the use of study periods, and actually using that time effectively rather than, or even if they're coming to school perhaps late or having an early finish, going and using that time rather than just going home and just, thinking of it at the end of the day. It's also important perhaps to keep some kind of diary or planner so they can note any important tasks, any upcoming SACs that might be occurring. All of that's worthwhile to have written down, and then actually prioritize those things that are on those lists. So what comes first and what happens, or what is the priority, what comes first, what do they need to finish? And to be honest, I find that pretty funny because every teacher thinks that their class is the most important thing to do. So we'll just leave that one out. But if you have any large, and then finally being able to break all of that into manageable chunks. So actually, not perhaps doing one class for the entirety of, their work period, but actually breaking it up and doing multiple things so they're not being overwhelmed by the amount of work. Thanks, George.
Thank you, Gerald. And Shankar is now going to talk us through some of the other things that our school and our cluster get involved with in the community.
Yep. Thank you, George. Hello, everyone. My name is Ishanka. I'm going to discuss community involvement and charities. Apart from all the academic achievements, the school has so many opportunities for students to engage with the community activities. So our school values student involvement, and we believe that active citizenship and community connectedness is paramount to developing young people. So that's why we always encourage everyone and to provide opportunities for students to be involved in social justice initiatives, liturgies, faith in action programs, community events, and sports. Each cluster is affiliated with the Catholic organization. Throughout the year, students raise funds through social justice initiatives to raise funds and awareness. Apart from that, there are many ways for students are able to become involved throughout the year and are consistently encouraged to do so. So from our cluster, TRUGANINI is affiliated with St. Mary House of Welcome in Fitzroy, and St. Mary House of Welcome provides essential services to people who are homeless, in financial difficulty, experiencing persistent mental health issues, or who are socially isolated. They often work with people who may not have access to other services and are at risk of failing through the gaps.
Thank you, Ashanka. We had also Shirley, who was going to speak from support services, but I have a feeling that we may have had a technical issue with getting her the ability to speak to you, so I'm sorry about that. But Shirley is part of a team of very, very supportive people that all work in our student services area. And they're made up of psychologists, careers counsellors, learning support officers, and also cultural liaison officers. And the point of all of these is to make sure that students have not only supportive teachers and coordinators around them, but also other people who they may feel they can talk to and get advice from when teachers or their coordinator is not the right person to talk to. And of course, we're very happy to refer students on to these people when necessary. So there's different referral processes for these, but the best way for students to get in touch with them is either to send a direct message to the appropriate person themselves, or if they're not sure who to send a message to have a chat with their home group teacher or with myself, and we can of course point them in the right direction. Additional information before we finish up for tonight, and then address any questions that may have come up. Just a reminder there, sector is where we put all of our communications, so it's really important that not only you take the opportunity to get onto there and make sure that you have access, but also that both students and yourselves are checking it as regularly as you are able. Any students who are undertaking a Unit 3 or 4 subject in 2021 will be required to complete an examination, a practice examination for that subject, and that's during the second week of the holidays at the end of term 3. So that's probably quite obvious for those students who are in year 12, but also of course the case for students in year 11. So just worth noting that date, especially if any trips are planned, not that we're in a wonderful position to be planning things in the future right now. And finally, some important dates there, which I won't go through, but I'll leave that on the screen for a moment. And that is our last slide. So in a moment, we'll address some questions, but if you are not going to stay for questions, thank you very much for coming along this evening and being involved. We're sorry we weren't able to meet you in person, but it's hopefully been helpful for you to have some of this information and also to put a face to the names of some of the home group teachers that you might have been hearing about. So thank you very much.
There's a question that just popped up, George. Yep.
Okay. I see. So we've got a question here around the timing of the practice exams, which I have to admit I couldn't go into a great amount of detail about exactly the decision-making process around when that they take place. But as I understand it, having the exams at the end of the term 3 holidays maximises the amount of time that students are able to be in class, and also provides teachers with an opportunity to get marking done and results back to students promptly. Is there anyone else who could elaborate on that any further?
Well, often, sorry, George, often teachers are using as much time as possible in second semester to get through the workload. So we leave term 3 for staff to work towards, and even for students as well. So the term 3 holidays, traditionally we've used to run the practice exams. And often those practice exams, or certainly the big ones, the English ones in the past, have been marked by external examiners as well. So we can get some really, really good feedback there, but that's why we tend to use that. We also work backwards because one of the dates that was missing, George, was the graduation, and this year the graduation's on the 15th October, Friday the 15th of October. So we work backwards as well for that too. Was there another question? I'm not sure.
There's one other question about about the school calendar not being.
Okay, well, we'll need to talk to the office about that. Need to make sure that that's that's up and running. Yeah, we'll have to get back to you about that one, Isabel. Sorry about that. I'll record that one as well. I'll take that away with me.
Thank you, Vince. Are there any other questions that anyone would like to ask? Okay, perhaps not. Well, if there's no further questions, we'll leave it there. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us this evening. Thank you to you, Vince, and to all of the home group teachers who've been involved as well. And we look forward to having more to do with all of our families throughout the rest of the year, and hopefully opportunities in the not too distant future to meet with you face to face.
Thank you. Well done, George.
Okay, thank you, everyone.